Good evening. Welcome to Psychic Holistic Spotlight. I'm your host, Josie Way. Co-hosting with me today is Kathy Medeiros. We are very pleased to welcome as guests Ned Arvidsson and Susan Fox, who will delight you with their stories. Susan has spent more than 23 years at Salve Regina University, and she has retired with loads of experiences in helping people express themselves creatively and transform their lives. Ned helps people transform their lives as well with creative arts. And they work together, and they each have their own venues.
Yeah, we both work really well together, and we have these areas of expertise that kind of complement each other.
Yeah, and our coming together happened very organically.
Yeah, I was curious how you got together.
We knew each other. We knew each other from in the community. We knew each other from Salve, and Susan was taking care of some art openings at the Hive in North Kingstown, Rhode Island. And she invited me to read poetry for one of the openings. And we kind of got together and talked about the expressive writing. And we followed up with a 6-month workshop series called Your Poetic Voice. So that's how we began working together. And it was gradual and very nice. And we realized that we functioned really well together and got wonderful benefits for the participants.
Yes, and you not only help people express themselves, you also help people get in touch with their inner child.
Absolutely.
We do, yeah. We help people play. And as adults, most of the time, you never think about how important play is. And to get adults to play is not easy, right? We work at it.
We work at it.
Right.
We're pretty good at it.
Yeah, they play at it. But that play is actually what shifts the hemispheres of the brain and allows them to have what I'd call a more expansive, connective, and we focus particularly on an embodied experience. So they're doing movement, or they're really feeling into what we're offering them through sensory awareness.
Yeah, art is not just something that's on a screen or a canvas.
Right.
It's in your soul.
Nicely put.
You can use your voice, you can use your eyes, but a lot of art involves kinesthetic, touching it.
Yes.
That looks like a lot of touching.
Yeah, the piece
Yes,
behind
very
us.
visceral.
Yeah, it was great. We were doing a very large workshop and on very large paper, which Ned had always wanted to do. Do you want to share that?
Yes. Yeah, I've been, a year ago, I was very inspired to do large pieces in my workshops. And Susan and I began, we found a large space to do this in. And we started out with a workshop theme called Rumbling Drum Thunder. And we had a live drummer drumming, and we just coached people as they really just moved their energy onto the canvas.
Did each person get one piece that size?
Yes.
Yeah.
And
You should have seen their faces when they walked in. They went, "Oh my gosh, we're going to have that much space to paint and to move." And of course, Ned brought in a drummer friend of his, so we got to do it to live drumming.
Did people use their feet, their hands, their everything?
They used mostly their hands, but also paintbrushes. We used acrylic paint, so there was a plethora of different colors and whatnot. And everyone had the freedom just to express themselves with color on canvas. And it's really process. It's not about outcome. It's about the process of becoming less inhibited or more uninhibited, and really feeling the energy in our bodies and allowing the energy to just really, I like to help people focus on the energy in their heart and their abdomen, and just feel it come up through the shoulders and out their arms. And just let the color go on as it wants to, and let the color choose what wants to be on, so we don't really choose, we just
Well, color
flow.
is very helpful. it can express your mood, and it can soothe or increase your mood.
Right. And as you may know, color is also vibration. So it carries not only that energy of a specific kind of feeling or emotion or event, but it also enlivens parts of our being. So what we did in this particular workshop, and there were a lot of them we did, where we brought them into environments that we set up so that it was filled with sensory experiences. And they stood in front of this very large piece of blank paper, which can be frightening at times. Most artists have a hard time putting that first mark on a white canvas. And we let the drumming start, and we let the movement start, and we guided them in a number of different kind of embodied experiences.
Now,
And
what do you
then,
mean by the movement? Is it a dance incorporated into the painting? Is that what you mean by movement?
It's not choreographed as such.
Okay.
It's simply allowing
Expressive.
the energy to move the body the way that it wants to.
Oh, okay.
So whatever that looks like is what it looks like.
Oh, okay.
And as a leader, I usually demonstrate so that people get a feel for, what could happen. I try to give people permission. I find sometimes participants actually need permission to do it, which is fascinating. But and I help them and I demonstrate, and we work. Susan and I work together, coaching them individually if they need a little encouragement. And we do also with the movement, we do mirroring exercises where one participant will move and the other person will mirror. And there's a great benefit to that, the mirroring aspect. It's a very simple way that we're witnessed, we're seen and we're heard. As sometimes in this life we're more busy hiding who we are and being quiet and not speaking out. So it's a very beautiful exercise to help people really connect with themselves and be witnessed that it's okay to be who they are.
What I'm kind of hearing isn't what you're expressing is when we were young, we knew when it was okay to move our feet and and move our arms and stuff, and that's all been programmed out of us. And
Yes.
that still needs to express itself.
yes, and wants to express it.
Yes.
Very much so.
In fact, the piece behind us is a piece that we used as a way of demonstrating to the participants what can happen. And so both of us are just dipping in big paintbrushes, using our hands, having a palette of color in front of us, and moving back and forth as if we were doing a dance, only it's just a somatic awareness of what we're feeling to the sound of drums. And then he would go on one side and I would move over to the other and we would exchange. And so you see these big swishes, and finally we added a lot of gold at the end, and they had a sense of what was possible. So once they saw this happening, it allowed them to begin to try some of the experiences that they wanted themselves. And it was very, very, very potent, and it allowed them to be in what I'd call creative space. It's a space where there's no time, and there's just opportunities that support a sense of freedom. And that freedom, then the body remembers how to go into freedom.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to ask, have you ever gotten feedback from people from after these experiences?
Yeah, I remember one time I was doing a workshop about 3 years ago. It was an expressive writing workshop, but I always bring in color on paper. I call it color on paper rather than art because it's about the process of putting the color on the paper, and saying art often confuses people. So it was a 3-hour workshop, and we did the closing. We had about 10 people, and it was an exercise where everyone passed what they did to the next person, and it was added and added and added. And then it came back home to the individual who started it, and they wrote a piece of poetry. And I had one individual in the class who was very skeptical, somewhat resistant, and a little kind of confused about what was really going on. And at the end of that exercise, and we listened to everyone's poetry, it was so sacred. It was so profoundly holy that these expressions would come forth from these people. And this resistant individual just totally melted and said, "How did you do that?" And the beauty is I didn't do anything.
They all did it for themselves,
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You just put it out in them.
but you held the energy for them and you supported them
Correct. Yes,
in
absolutely.
letting it out.
Yeah, yeah. And that's
There
really...
was no judgment.
No, not at all. And that's really what we do. We just create the container, the space, the safety for people to do some self-discovery that they may never have before. Or even if they're familiar with self-discovery, they go further and deeper in the self-discovery, and they discover simply what might be next for them in their life.
We both believe that every human being is inherently creative. And so when you hold that belief system, it emanates out into the space that you're working in. And so it allows them to pick up those kind of forms, thought forms that are existing. And they watch us, they watch other participants. And what emerges is this sense of really connecting to their essence. And that always feels so good, so luscious, so filled with potential. And they know who they are.
How did you get into doing this, the expressive arts? I was curious with that. It was a process, huh?
Yeah, well, for me, I went through a lot of change in my life in the, in the 80s. And I lost my job, I lost kind of the home, marriage ended. And so I was in a place where it was just perfect for me to begin to use the arts, which I had been involved with for a long time, to allow myself to have the experience of how using art can be transformative. So it transformed much of what I was feeling, but it guided me into a sense of joy and peace and a sense of contentment within myself, and I wanted to share it with others.
Yeah. When you connected with your real self, you were centered and you didn't feel lost.
Right. Beautifully.
Despite everything.
Yep. Yep.
All the chaos of life.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
You had the experience of the chrysalis and the butterfly.
Beautifully put.
Yes.
That was it.
Yeah.
And you? Yeah.
Well, for me, I'll try to give you the Reader's Digest version. Essentially, I won't go into it, but I was deeply depressed. And my journey was frustrating because I was having trouble finding professional help. They helped me do my best with my pain and my suffering, but I began finding myself in groups with holistic modalities. A gong bath, Reiki, quantum touch, and I began to have these non-ordinary experiences. And I began simply to feel better. And part of it was when I'd go to these groups, people would open their arms and welcome me. And they wouldn't ask me for my credentials. They wouldn't ask me if I'm qualified to be a part of the group. You're a mess, come on in. Good to see you. But these experiential modalities began to help me help dissolve my pain and suffering. And my depression began to go away. But what really happened is a reconnection with my true self. It was a reconnection with those exiled parts of me that had been pushed away or denied or repressed. And I was beginning to open up and welcome those exiled parts back to me. And it was a journey of wholeness, returning to wholeness. And it continues.
It always continues.
Yeah, it doesn't stop. It doesn't stop.
Yeah. And it would be boring if it stopped.
It would be. It truly would be. This is a beautiful, wonderful adventure.
Yeah.
So, do you offer classes often on the expressive arts?
We do.
Okay.
We do. I'm taking a break right now, going through an opportunity for me to take a look at my painting and my writing. I'm co-authoring another book with a friend on friendship.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a very different kind of book, but it's called the Friendship Memoir Project, and it's around both imagery and writing about our journey of 54 years. And then I've been a painter for many years, but I've really gotten back into it. So I'm taking this summer to be able to do that. But Ned will be offering a couple of workshops, and then in the fall we'll do something together. So.
Yes, my next workshop is on July 27th, 2019, this year. And basically it's a repeat of this, only we won't have live drumming. I'll have a music playlist to go with it. It'll be at my home studio. And really it's just this way of connecting with our creative essence, of really kind of letting things go that typically block us or inhibit us. And it's very playful. It's a lot of fun, and it just really helps us to connect with the joy that's already within us. It's already there, and just is longing to be expressed.
Yeah, so it's kind of like a remembering of what was.
Right.
Yes, yes, and people often have those moments where they remember things from childhood, those happy moments that brought them joy. Those passions within that they've denied for so many years because they're so busy, paying the rent, that they've put these things aside. And it's just really beautiful for people to enter this moment, which is only a couple, 3 hours, and just have it all to themselves, to connect with themselves, and to welcome back those exiled parts of themselves that they've ignored and denied.
It's sacred time.
Very sacred.
Yeah,
Very
I have
sacred.
ongoing groups at my studio, and some of them have been with me almost 20 years, and they don't stop. And they put it aside every month because it feels so special to be able to have time that they can just focus on themselves. Or in this case, I'm moving more into focusing not only on oneself, but into the larger archetypes in the universe. And some of my work has been around working with the natural world and connecting with Earth and earth-based activities that allow a personal awareness of how we are part of everything.
Oh, we're connected.
Yes. So we do a number of exercises, and sometimes Ned and I will do some where we really will focus on people spending time meditating with blades of grass or connecting with the animal world and bringing that in. And, just simple exercises like, just imagine that we're not only connecting with the world and sensing the breeze or the sense of warmth on us, but that we actually can feel if an ant starts to walk up our arm, and how really tender and amazing that is to have those little feet walk on our skin.
Yeah.
So it's all of those kinds of things that activate personal awareness. But also imagine that we're being watched by the trees and by the birds, not just that we're the watchers. So basically, we're heightening a consciousness with our work.
Absolutely.
The experience with an ant, I had a dragonfly land. I was like, ants I've had, and never a butterfly yet. But the dragonfly stayed for 4 or 5 minutes, and I was like so honored that it stayed on me. And then more people came around, and it fluttered. The energy was lost.
I think there is a certain kind of respect and honoring that happens when we have these incredible interactions. I just came back from swimming with dolphins in the open ocean, and to think that these amazing beings with brains 3 times our size of our brain and with more neural pathways, and they chose to come to the boats out in open ocean and swim with us and connect with us. And if you threw a leaf, they would bounce it up with their either a fin or a nose and bounce it back to you. So these were just incredible ways of seeing the planet and all life forms as filled with awe and beauty.
Yeah, they're amazingly playful And a lot of us are not in touch with that self,
Right.
whereas the expressive arts bring that out.
Right. And I think
Totally.
play is the key piece. That's how Ned and I kind of feel like we are in tune with each other when we're working.
And, play produces a beautiful alchemy, within our container. The play there's something about it that begins to transform. It begins to loosen our defenses so that our heart begins to open up, and we realize life is so playful. The energy of life just wants to expand. It wants to go into every void. It wants to fill us and fill every void. And for me, when I facilitate groups and workshops, the only way I can express it is that I feel fully alive. And it's rare that it happens too much in other places, but there's just something that happens for me when I fulfill my passion of facilitating groups and bringing people together and really bringing their hearts together. And there's this alchemy that happens, this transformative alchemy. And people not only are reconnected with themselves, but with each other in a beautifully intimate way.
There's a synergy about it,
Yeah.
that you get more than what you put into it.
Yes.
And participants feel that. They sense it. They have a real intuitive connection with the fact that we're having fun.
Oh, we are.
Yes, we're laughing and we babble and we move and we.
Explain babbling to our audience.
Oh, I don't know if we can explain it. We have to demonstrate.
Could we do it?
Can we?
Don't stand up, you lie it in.
Okay. All right. We'll just do maybe 10 seconds each.
Sure. Do you want me to start?
Sure. You're good at it.
Okay, I do love to do this. And
Yeah, he does. It's his
very
signature
playful.
move.
Zabipadam hichut sata yotamahu oti wohoho nama hikita so.
Wawa, una, ana, mama, ooh. Yes, we just make up. Yes, oh, we can't stop. We allow the sense of the sounds to just guide us. And what happens is when people are doing it back and forth with each other, they just laugh. And it's a lot of improv stuff that goes on that sets the dynamic for people to trust themselves in the moment.
And for me, I literally, and I think for most people, if we focused on it, although we don't necessarily in the workshops, but there's this stirring of the energy when we babble. It doesn't make any sense to the logical brain, but it makes sense to the body brain, and it stirs the energy and it moves it, and stuff happens when energy begins to move.
A lot has to do with the tone of what you're babbling,
Yeah.
because it almost seems to be giving you a message.
It probably is.
Now, do you guide workshops or classes on this as well too, or do you just something you guys just do with each other?
Oh, no, we include this in the workshops.
Oh, okay.
And let me just walk you through what happens, because
Okay.
this is, I think, where the great power is.
Well, wait. Before we walk through, what we need to do is find out how to get in touch with you.
Sure.
Yes. So you can reach me at my email, which is sfoxart@aol.com. And Ned?
I keep it really simple. My name is Ned Arvidsson. My website is nedarvidsson.com, and it's all there.
So
Okay.
the dates, all the information.
Yes. By the time this show gets out, we will have missed July, so it'll be ready for the fall
Okay.
Okay.
when you're both working together.
So at that point, when people are viewing in the fall, they can go to my website and check out my calendar, because I'm in the process of scheduling probably 8 workshops from August through December. So there'll be a lot there for people to look at.
Okay, very good. Now let's walk through what a session, a meeting
Okay,
Could I begin?
sure.
Okay. I'd like to begin with a definition of the expressive arts that I like to use. And what I like to say is the expressive arts are heart-opening modalities which help us discover, explore, become, and express who we really are. So our workshops typically have those four components of the expressive arts, which are sound, using vocal or using music, movement of the body, color on paper or expressive art, and expressive writing. So we don't necessarily use all of them all the time, but typically most of them are there during most of the workshops.
What's the expressive writing?
It's process. It's not about outcome, but usually there's interesting outcome.
Okay.
But we're not trying to have this interesting outcome. So really, it's usually I give prompts to people. It could be timed. I could say, finish this sentence. It could be something like, I am here too. Finish that sentence. Write about that for 3 minutes. We'll do fast writing. Just write fast. Anything that comes into your head. Just write. And then we'll drill down. We'll take a highlight out of that writing, and then we'll drill down some more. And then it's so fascinating what people end up with. It's extremely important, and it's really, they've discovered the voice of their heart when they get down that far. And I'm sorry, go ahead, Susan.
No, I thought you did a beautiful job of just getting a sense of how we start the group and how it really makes it very easy for people to begin to settle in and feel as though what I often say to them is, you can't do this wrong. You can't do this wrong.
Yeah, that's the beauty.
Yeah, and so it takes off this sense of really feeling like you have to perform, that you can just be in your own energy and let whatever wants to happen flow.
Yeah, that helps with the no judgment for the classes. Though.
Absolutely.
It helps a lot.
Yeah.
Anything that's done with unconditional love and no judgment
Goes a long way. It really does.
is inspiring.
Yeah, and I find the real communication happens when hearts come into coherence, when the vibration of our hearts begin to tune. We begin to attune with each other during the workshop. And the real communication is energetic. So what we do is important, but it's not always that relevant. The connection is the relevancy.
I bet a lot of people have epiphanies
Yes.
with
They do.
these.
They do.
Certain heart truths come out.
Yes. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, all of our work is what I'd call embodied work, but it's body, mind, and spirit. So we bring it all in. Yes.
Yeah. Well, we're almost finished. I want to say thank you for joining us, and please come back. We are going to have Susan and Ned on another show. So if you want to see more, you got to come back. And in a little while, after the show airs, you'll be able to see us on YouTube. Okay? Is there one 30-second thing?
I just wanted to touch on the expressive writing because it sounds almost like the automatic writing, where you don't even think, you just start writing. Does it sound, when people come back to with expressive writing though, is it, they get a, I don't want to say grander scale though, because it's not really about that, but does it sound more like though, like people coming from that avenue though, when they do the writing for like the 3 minutes or the 5 minutes that you have them do that?
It's very heart-centered.
Okay.
We tap into the feeling level.
Okay.
And we tap into the energy centers. So yes, it's sort of like the automatic writing, but it's more like the connection to our own energy that gets translated. And if a word is a vibration, a color is a vibration, what we're doing when we move our hand, it's a form of somatic awareness. So all of these combine to make what I'd call expressive.